Good morning. We are in Mark chapter 7, verses 24 through 37 today, and it is the healing of a young girl who was the daughter of a Syrophoenician woman. There's a couple of key things I want to explain to you, and then one key takeaway that we can hone in on as part of our reading this morning. And from there he rose and went to the region of Tyre and Sidon. And he entered a house and did not want anyone to know, yet he could not be hidden. In other words, Jesus was always being seen and found out for who he was, and people would gather in crowds. But immediately a woman whose daughter had an unclean spirit heard of him and came and fell down at his feet. Now the woman was a Gentile, a Syrophoenician by birth, and she begged him to cast the demon out of her daughter. And he said to her, "Let the children be fed first, for it is not right to take the children's bread and throw it to the dogs." Now you're probably thinking, what in the world is Jesus talking about? Well, here's a simple explanation. Let the children be fed first. It's referring to him coming to minister the gospel or the kingdom to the Jews, the children of Israel, or the children of God first, and not to take what should be offered to them, which is the preaching of the gospel, the preaching of the kingdom, and give it away to Gentiles like this Syrophoenician woman. Well, listen to her response to him, which was pretty much a test of her faith to see if she knew and understood who he was. And listen to what she says. She answered him, "Yes, Lord. Yet even the dogs under the table eat the children's crumbs." In other words, she says, I know you came for Israel. Now, I know the children's bread belongs to them first, the Jews first, and then Gentiles. But Lord, even a dog like me, even the Gentile, even the outsider, even the one you didn't come to feed, can catch just the crumbs of who you are. That is powerful. A wonderful example, in contrast with others where people have no faith at all and don't know who Jesus was, of a woman who knows exactly who he is and who pleads with him rather cleverly, I would say, and with great faith. "Lord, I'll just take the crumbs." Like the centurion that said, "Lord, just say the word and it will be done." He says to her, "For this statement, you may go your way. The demon has left your daughter." And she went home and found the child lying in bed, and the demon gone. Then he returned from the region of Tyre, went through Sidon, the Sea of Galilee, and the region of Decapolis, and they brought him a man who was deaf, and he had a speech impediment, and they begged him to lay his hands on him. In verse 33, and taking him aside from the crowd privately, he put his fingers on his ears, and after spitting, touched his tongue. And looking up to heaven, he sighed and said to him, "Epaphtha," that is, "be opened." Well, and his ears were opened. His tongue was released, and he spoke plainly. And Jesus charged them to tell no one. But the more he charged them, the more zealously they proclaimed it, and they were astonished beyond measure, saying, "He has done all things well. He even makes the deaf hear and the mute speak." Now, last question of this morning's reading. Why does Jesus frequently tell people not to go and tell others that they were healed, or not to go around and tell everyone about their healing? Well, it's pretty simple. Jesus early on, in actually Mark chapter 1, if you remember, says, let's go to another place. I want to go preach. That's why I came. Yes, Jesus came to heal, and yes, he does heal. And he casts out demons, and the mute speak, and the deaf hear, and the lame walk because of Christ. But his goal was not to gather large crowds, line them all up, and heal them and move on. He came to preach. He did not come to send leper colonies into a frenzy as they all come for a healing. He did not come to simply feed the hungry. Jesus came to preach. And that is why Paul says in 1 Corinthians 2:2, "For I am determined to know nothing among you except Christ and him crucified." And so in whatever you're asking the Lord for, as you identify him like this woman as Lord, and as you look to him as your Savior, and as you certainly ask him to meet your needs, never forget the most important thing we could ever receive from him is his gospel preached and his salvation of our soul. I hope that reminder brings you perspective today as you wait on the Lord or see him move mightily in your life. Whatever the case, Jesus is what we seek. He is whom we desire to have.